Do you watch the gold and silver price closely? Yesterday was painful, downright awful. Between 6 a.m. and 12 noon, the price of gold dropped by $25. On the day, silver was down nearly 3%. What caused this precipitous drop in the price of gold, in the price of silver? We can talk exactly about what caused it to happen, but more importantly, what's going on today and what's going on in the near-term future, the very near-term future that will have a big impact on the price of gold and the price of silver. Let's talk about it, me and you, right now. We got hit by a double whammy of negative news stories that had a big impact on the price of gold and the price of silver yesterday. The first thing that came out was the news about the increasing level of discontent, rioting, protesting, whatever you want to call it, in China. That scared all the markets because people just don't know how that situation is going to play out. I don't know if you've been watching it, but it appears that the Chinese population is fed up with zero tolerance toward the health crisis and being locked down, and they are taking to the streets. But that took the price of gold and silver to the shed for a whipping, because especially silver, that is still looked at as somewhat of an industrial metal, the prospects of a slowdown in China just spooked markets everywhere. Heck, even the general markets were down 1.5%, almost 2%. Now, the second thing that we got hit with were from our old friends at the Federal Reserve. You know, our good friends, Jerome Powell, but it wasn't him who spoke. They wheeled out a couple of the local Fed governors, presidents, whatever they are, and they had more hawkish things to say about Fed monetary policy. They were doing their hawk squawk, you know, when they come out and say, oh, we still don't have inflation under control, and oh, we're going to still be aggressive in our fight on inflation. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but to me, it's getting a little exhausting. It's kind of like the girl that gets asked to go to the prom and she says yes, and then the next day she says no, and then the next day she changes her mind. Like they're flip-flopping back and forth, and they're like a bunch of hawks, especially this guy here in St. Louis. Now, I can say this because I'm broadcasting to you wherever you are in the world from St. Louis. And while I have your attention on that, thank you for joining me. It means a lot. You are special. It is me and you right now. We may be part of a much bigger crowd of precious metals enthusiasts, people who like to dig a little deeper into things. But the reality is, my friend, it's me and you right now. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. Now, Mr. Bullard here in St. Louis, our local Fed governor, president, whatever his title is, he is always talking hawkish. He's known as being one of the biggest hawks. You know, he kind of reminds me of a little bit. I don't know him personally. He may be a fine guy, whatever, but he reminds me of like that crabby uncle at the family functions, the family reunions. Like every time Bullard talks, gold goes down. I don't know. It's like the old E.F. Hutton TV commercials, you know, like when Bullard talks, gold drops. And that's what happened yesterday. Also, Mr. Williams spoke and basically said the same thing. So that's what killed gold. China and tough Fed talk. Of course, that also had a major negative impact on silver as well. But you want to know what's going to happen in the future, right? You come here in hopes that my crystal ball is working. Let's look just at the end of the week this week, because we have two major things that will occur. We know what's going to happen over the coming quarters and months, but this week, on Wednesday, we have Jerome Powell himself giving a speech at the Brookings Institute. And I thought, what the heck is the Brookings Institute? You know, I've heard it my whole life. I'm 52 years old. So I moved my fingers. I became unlazy. You know how that feels when you think you should do something, but, you know, it takes a little extra effort. And I researched the Brookings Institute is this think tank that was created over 100 years ago. A bunch of people who are supposed to be smart and who are supposed to be working on solving the world's problems. Sounds like a good place to work to me, and I'd imagine that you and I are just as smart, or maybe even smarter than them, but nonetheless, Jerome will be delivering a speech. The market will be listening attentively to hear any hints regarding hawkishness or dovishness. So the price of gold on Wednesday could really have a big move based upon what Mr. Jerome Powell has to say. The final thing we have to look forward to are employment numbers on Friday. We will get the numbers for the November job additions and job losses on Friday, and that will be a market-moving event. If the number comes in really, really good, right, like tons of jobs have been created and Joe Biden's working his economic miracle, well, that will give the Fed more good footing from which to be hawkish going down the road. But if the jobs numbers start to show some weakness, right, that will indicate to the market that the economy can be slowing a little faster than the Fed may like, and that they may have to loosen up sooner as opposed to later. And you know what loosening up means? That means good things for the price of gold and silver. It's going to be an interesting remainder of the week. We'll make it through no matter what happens. Even worst case scenario, I'll be here for you through it all. I really appreciate you joining me, and I'll look forward to seeing you, yes, you, next time.